The hook. Let me tell you something that nobody in finance actually says out loud. I used to make on paper close to $400,000 a year in investment banking. $400,000, and I was still checking my bank account before buying groceries. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, boo-hoo, rich banker, stick with me. Because what actually happens to that number between your offer letter and your bank account is genuinely insane. And if you've ever thought about finance as a career, or you just want to know what Wall Street money actually looks like up close, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through a real bonus breakdown, not the made-up kind, not the LinkedIn flexes kind, the real numbers. Gross pay, taxes, deductions, and then the part nobody talks about: what people like me actually did with whatever was left. Spoiler, it wasn't smart. Section 1, the numbers on paper. Okay, so let's start with what the numbers actually look like, because most people have no idea. In investment banking, your comp has two main components: base salary and bonus. And the bonus is where it gets interesting and complicated. At a bulge bracket bank, think Goldman, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, a first-year analyst is pulling in roughly $110,000 to $125,000 in base salary right now. That number has gone up a lot in the last 5 years, thanks to the talent war with hedge funds and tech. Then, there's the bonus. Year-end bonuses for first-year analysts typically range from 70% to 100% of base. So you're looking at another $80 to $120K on top. All in, a first-year analyst is somewhere between $190,000 and $240,000 total comp. Now, by the time you're a third-year associate, which is only 5 years into your career, that number climbs to $350,000 to $500,000. Sometimes more in a good year, which sounds absolutely absurd. And it is. But here's where I need you to start paying very close attention, because this is where the magic trick happens. That bonus, it doesn't just show up in your account. It goes through a very long, very expensive journey before it gets to you. So, on paper, $400,000. Sounds incredible, but before we can talk about what lands in the bank, we need to talk taxes. And I need you to buckle up, because this section genuinely shocked me the first time I lived it. Section 2, the tax reality. Let's talk taxes. And I mean really talk about them, not the sanitized version you get from a personal finance blog. If you're making $400 as a banker in New York City, here's what's coming for you before you see a single dollar. Federal income tax. At that income level, you're in the 37% marginal bracket. On your bonus specifically, which is classified as supplemental income, the IRS withholds at a flat 22% initially, then true ups to 37% when you file. So plan accordingly. New York State income tax. Another 10.9% on income above roughly $25 million. At your level, you're paying close to 9.65%. New York City income tax, yes, the city has its own income tax. Add another 3.876%. Social Security and Medicare FICA taxes, another 7.65% up to the Social Security wage base. Then 1.45% Medicare beyond that, plus the additional 0.9% Medicare surtax if you're above $200K. By the time you add it all up, you are effectively paying somewhere between 48% and 52% of every marginal dollar in taxes if you're a high earner in New York City. Let me say that again. For every extra dollar you earn above a certain threshold, Roughly half of it belongs to the government before it even touches your hands. So that $200,000 bonus? After taxes, you're looking at somewhere around $98,000 to $110,000 in take-home, less than half. And here's the thing most young bankers don't think about. That withholding happens unevenly throughout the year. Your regular paychecks get taxed normally. Your bonus, which often hits in February or March, gets hammered. And if your employer underwithholds, which is common with large bonuses, you're writing a check to the IRS in April on top of everything. First year I got my bonus, I had to write a $22,000 check to the federal government in April. My signing bonus was long gone. That was a character-building moment. Section 3, Lifestyle Inflation. The silent killer. Okay. So after taxes, you're taking home, let's say, around $210,000 on that $400K salary, which is still an enormous amount of money by any reasonable standard. So where does it go? I'm going to walk you through what I call the lifestyle inflation stack. This is how it happens gradually, invisibly, and completely by design. Layer 1. The apartment. The first thing every banker does when they get that offer letter is upgrade their apartment. Because you can afford it now, right? Average rent for a one-bedroom in Manhattan, $4,200 to $5,500 a month. And honestly, bankers don't usually go entry-level. They go for the place with the doorman and the in-unit laundry because they are in the office 80 hours a week and they deserve it. That's the logic anyway. So let's say $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. In rent. Gone. Layer 2. The I work hard spending investment banking hours are brutal. You're regularly in the office until midnight. You're skipping weekends. You're missing birthdays and weddings and vacations. And the psychological response to that is spending. You eat out constantly because you have no time to cook. $25 lunches, $50 dinners, $18 cocktails. You Uber everywhere because the subway takes too long and you're exhausted. You buy nicer clothes because appearance matters in the industry and you're in client meetings. A modest version of this lifestyle, nothing crazy. No luxury watches, no bottle service, runs $3,000 to $5,000 a month on top of rent. That's another $36,000 to $60,000 a year. Layer 3. Social anchoring. Here's one nobody talks about. When everyone around you is making the same amount of money, your reference point shifts. Your colleagues are going to Montauk for the weekend. They're splitting a ski house in Aspen. They're buying a round for the table at the bar because the deal closed and everyone's feeling good. And you go along with it, not because you're being reckless, but because this is the social fabric of the job. Economists call this reference group effects. I call it my friends were expensive. Layer 4. 401k and deferred comp. Here's a sneaky one. At most banks, a significant portion of your bonus, sometimes 30 to 50%, doesn't arrive as cash. It's deferred compensation, paid out over 3 to 5 years, often in company stock. So that $200,000 bonus, maybe $120,000, comes as cash. The rest vests over years, subject to clawback provisions if you leave, which means your actual liquid take-home from the bonus is even less than that tax-adjusted number I showed you. So let's tally the damage. On $400,000 of total compensation, a first-year analyst living a completely non-extravagant New York banker life might save $20,000 in year 1. Sometimes less. And that's if they're being disciplined. A lot of them aren't. Section 4, Why Bankers Stay Broke. So why does this happen? Why do people making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year end up with basically nothing to show for it? It's not stupidity. These are some of the smartest people I've ever met. It's something more structural than that. Reason 1. The hedonic treadmill is real. Psychologists have known for decades that human happiness adapts to new conditions. When you get a raise, you feel great for a while. Then your new income becomes the baseline. You need more to feel the same level of comfortable. In banking, this happens on steroids because the raises are so large, so fast, that your lifestyle has to scramble to catch up. And it always does. Catch up, I mean. The lifestyle always catches up. Reason 2. High income masks poor financial structure. When you're making 400Ks, it's very easy to never think about your finances. Bills get paid automatically. Credit card balances clear. You never bounce a check. You feel financially fine. But feeling fine and actually being fine are not the same thing. If you're 28 years old, making $400,000, and you have $30,000 in savings, you are not financially fine. You have a high income and no wealth. Income is a flow. Wealth is a stock. Bankers are very good at maximizing flow. They are often terrible at building stock. Reason 3. The exit assumption. There's a quiet assumption in banking culture that the big money is coming later. You suffer through analyst years because associate pay is better. You grind through associate years because VP pay is great. You push to MD because MD comp is life-changing. And somewhere in that logic, saving now feels pointless. Why optimize today when the real money is 2 years away? The problem is the goalpost keeps moving. It always feels like the next level is where real financial security lives, which means you're always spending against a future that hasn't arrived yet. So here's what I want you to actually take away from this. High income is an opportunity, not an outcome. And most people, including people who are explicitly paid to be smart about money, treat it like the outcome. They optimize for the income number. They don't optimize for the wealth number. The bankers I know who actually built real wealth early, and there are some, they exist, did a few things differently. None of that is groundbreaking advice. None of it is complicated. But in an environment where everyone around you is spending big and the culture actively rewards visible success, doing the boring thing is genuinely hard. The most counterintuitive financial advice I can give you, especially if you're in a high-income field, is this. The number on your offer letter is not the point. What you do with the gap between what you earn and what you spend, that's the whole game. Everything else is noise. Anyway, that's the real bonus breakdown. Hope it was worth the watch. If you want to see a follow-up on what an actually good financial plan looks like for early career finance people maxing accounts, actually building net worth on a banker's schedule, drop a comment and I'll make that video. And if you're not subscribed, you probably should be. I only make videos I actually want to watch, which is a weirdly low bar that somehow most finance YouTube fails to clear. All right. See you in the next one.